this unit, we're going to continue our look at number sense. In this lesson, we're going to look at rounding. Okay, hi everybody. So here we're going to take a look at rounding. Okay, really important skill. Really important skill to be able to do this correctly. Oftentimes on an exam, particularly when the exam is marked by a machine, if people aren't being a little bit careful here, it's very easy to lose marks just because you've rounded incorrectly. Okay, and in other situations, when you make an incorrect rounding, when you round incorrectly, that little mistake that you make, particularly if you incorporate other values into a calculation, that little error can sometimes become a bigger and bigger error, become a bigger deal here. Now, to perform a rounding step here, first thing we got to be able to do is identify place values. So we got to remember how we label the digits in a number depending on where they show up with respect to the decimal, right? Because the decimal is basically what allows us to identify place value. So in this number 162.587, okay, or what you might say 162 587 thousandths, okay, we're going to identify the digit in each of the place values. So the hundredths, well, that is 3 spots over from the decimal, so that's going to be the 1. We've got 100 objects or whatever it is here. The tens is the 6, so we've got 6 tens, so 60, 160, and then we've got 2 in the 1 spot. That's the spot immediately to the left of the decimal. Now, after the decimal, we've got the tenths. Okay, so we're breaking the whole up into 10 pieces, and we've got 5 of them. If I go 2 spots over, I've got 8 hundredths. So I took the whole, I'm breaking it up into 100 little pieces here, and I've only got 8 of them. And then here, with the thousands, I'm breaking up the whole like that circle. I'm breaking it up to 1,000 different pieces, and this tells me that I've got 7 of those pieces there. Okay. Now, another way that you could think of this is you've got 587 thousandths. Okay, there is another way to see that, and that works too. Okay, but you could see this as 5 tenths, 8 hundredths, and 7 thousandths as well. And that's right now. That's kind of how we want you to look at that. Now, when we talk about rounding, first of all, we want to identify the place value that you're rounding to. Okay, so typically the question will give it to you, or you'll be given some information about the numbers, or you might be talking about significant digits and how you work with significant digits, in which case there will be an understanding as to what to round to. But anyway, you need to know what you're going to be rounding to. Then you look at the neighboring digit to the right. Okay, so you look at that one digit immediately to the right of the place value that you're rounding to. If that number is between 0 and 4, then the digit stays the same. In other words, what we're saying is what's behind that number is not larger than the halfway point between the number that I'm at and the next number. So we are closer to the value, that one value, than we are to the next value. But if that next digit is between 5 and 9, then we're going to round up. We're going to take that digit that we're looking at and we're going to increase it by 1. Now, if this is relatively new to you or you haven't done this in a while here, that might be a little bit confusing. Let's take a look at some examples where we actually do this. Okay, so here we go. So we're going to round each of the following here to the nearest whole number. Now, that means the spot directly to the left of the decimal. So here we go. So this is the one that I'm rounding to here. Now I look to the value immediately to its right. Because this digit here is 5 and up, okay, because this is 5 and up here, that means this piece behind it here pushes this number closer to 5 than it is to 4. So for example, on the number line here, here's 4, here's 5. Here's the halfway mark. 4.6581 is going to be somewhere over here. It's closer to 5 than it is to 4. So it would be appropriate to round this. I can't believe I just did that. After saying what I just said, when I round this, this is going to go to 5. Okay, and I'm going to put a little dot over top of that to say this is approximately equal to 5. Here, on the other hand, this number right here, if I think about 3 and I think about 4, and here's kind of your halfway mark here, notice that 3.48251 is not quite at the halfway mark. It's a little bit to the left of it. Now, don't round more than once. Don't do it. I've seen students do this where they say, well, wait a minute. If I go to the right of the 4, that puts this up to a 5, which then puts the 3 up to a 4. No. Rounding doesn't work like that little domino effect where it's ding, 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 and I work all the way up here. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to simply look at the spot 1 to the right here. And because that number is not 5 and up, I'm going to say that this number is actually closer to 3. Here, 120.99999, okay? Again, I'm only interested in this value right here. And notice that because this is 5 or up, I'm going to take this value right here and increase it by 1. So this is much, much closer to 121 than it is to 120. Okay? Let's look at the next question here. Round to the nearest tenth, it says. Now, the tenth is going to be the spot 1 to the right of the decimal. Whoops. So now what I'm going to do is look to its right. So immediately to the right of the 2 here, the 10th spot is an 8. That is in that interval there, 5 and up. So I'm going to take that 165, and instead of having it as 0.2, we're going to make this 0.3. Because we are closer to the 0.3 than we are to the 0.2. Over here, here's our 10th spot. Again, it doesn't bother me that there's a 9 over there that might turn this 4 into a 5. I don't care. I'm only interested in the digit immediately to the right of the place value that I'm rounding to. Because that is a 4, that means that this little bit right here isn't quite over the halfway mark. This number is closer to 63.2 than it is to 63.5. And that's all we're trying to do. We're just trying to identify what number, written down to the 10th spot, is this whole number closer to. Now, this one here, it's got a little bit more going on with it. Here's my 10th spot, but if I look right here to the 100th spot, because this is a little bit more, because this is in the 5 to 9 range here, I'm going to round this number up 1. But 1 up from 9 is like 10 here. So what that does is that's going to push over a whole value. So 1, leave the decimal there, 0.0. And actually, that's okay. That's great. In fact, I want that 0 to be there. You don't just write 1. Write 1.0, because that tells everybody, okay, hey, I rounded it. It is closer to 1.0 than it is to any other number in the 10th position. Okay, so that's good. That's a great answer there. Here, we're going to round to the nearest hundredth. Now, that's 2 spots over. 2 spots to the right of the decimal here. So again, I'm going to look to the next spot here. That's a 3, because that's from 0 to 4. My 100th spot is going to stay the same. So it'll be 1,000.12. Here, I look at my 100th spot here. Then I go 1 over here, because that's from 5 to 9. That means we're closer to the next value here. So this is going to be 38.27. And then if that last question that we did just a few moments ago made sense, then this should make sense here too. This 9 here, I'm not going to look at the 1,000 spot, because this is in the 5 to 9 range. That's going to increase this one. This is where we get a little domino effect happening, okay? Not in the rounding, but in the answering of the question, in the determining of the value. So this 9 is going to be 10, but the 10th spot, the 1, gets pushed over. So then this 9 is also going to go up to a 10, and that's going to push another 1 over. And then that's going to go up to 17. So this will be 17.00. And again, I want to write both those zeros in, because that communicates that I know that this number is closer to 17.00 than it is to any other number written to the hundredth spot. Okay? I hope that makes sense. Rounding is one of those skills. It's really important. It comes up so often. In fact, what we want you to do is we want you to get to the point where it's this thing that you just naturally do. You don't even think about it anymore. You get so comfortable with the concept.